Except my STEEZ going on Yes Lord, bringing you round 11. Review game 1 of the week. We had the highly anticipated Geelong Cats hosting the Dogs, Western Bulldogs at the GMHBA Gardenia Park. And obviously it was highly anticipated for one reason in particular, mostly because Bailey Smith was going against his old side after he had comments about the Dogs and the playing grounds and all that. So I know a lot of people were looking to be tuned into this game. But coming into this game, Bailey Smith was also nursing an injury. I believe it was a calf. And yeah, man, so he said he had to get a handful of jabs before the game in the calf. So yeah, there was a lot to really look forward to, especially with his performance about to be under the microscope. Also, Mitch Duncan is playing in his 300th game as well. So very interesting scenes here just surrounding the game. And coming into the game particularly, I think both teams are 6-4. So both teams playing decent footy at the moment. And yeah, I was just expecting a real cracking game. I tipped the Dogs to win this game despite being on the road. I also understand that the home ground advantage that Geelong has at Gardenia Park. But nonetheless, I thought the Dogs would really just get up for this game and particularly win this one. But really early in the game, bro, it was the first quarter was kind of a back and forth affair, but Bailey Smith really got off to a high start. I believe he had like 10 disposals in the first quarter. Yeah, so it was leading up pretty well. My boy Duck tipped the Cats, man, so that was already a bad sign for me as far as my tips goes, because he always one-ups me on the tips, 5-10-ups me on the tips. But I think Geelong really went crazy in the second quarter. I believe they had like 6 goals, and that kind of separated them there. I think the Dogs, they were winning in the middle, bro. They were just separation in the middle of the ground. Bailey Smith was good, specifically in the first quarter, but Max Holmes definitely had a great game as well. And yeah, I think the Dogs were really fumbly, and there was a lot of times where they weren't just able to grab the ball and do anything in particular with it. And I think that's the story of this game was Geelong making the most of their opportunities and the Dogs not being able to do so. And also just the forwards from Geelong really going crazy with Jezza Cameron scoring 6 and Shannon Neal having 5. That's a lot to overcome. And it looked like Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron all over again, man. I think O'Donnell played decent, but he had his moments where he just got beat. It seemed like a lot of the times it was just out the back goals, just body positioning, and kicks the advantage for Geelong and making most of the opportunities. They had so many goals just kicked out the back. But I do think the Dogs played relatively well too. Like Mon had a good game. Ed Richards had a good game as well. And I think, like I said, O'Donnell had his moments. Matt Kennedy played very good. And yeah, I think in the second half, the Dogs really turned it around. Dominated from center clearance, especially toward the end of the game. Well, in the fourth quarter, and they looked like they were trying to make a spirited comeback, but the Cats just seemed to answer any run that they had. It would be for one Dogs goal, the Cats will be able to just score a couple more, man. And yeah, the turnovers were just bad, bro. There was one moment in particular where, who was it, bro? Was it? I don't think it was Frazier. But yeah, Bailey Dow, he had a slow start to the game, and he got involved more late in the game, but he just wasn't as pivotal as he did coming off a hot game that he had last week. And yeah, I think they could have used his influence early on. But yeah, there was like a horrid turnover from the Dogs, just kicked right to the Cats right in their defensive half off a kick-in, I believe, or something near that, and just led right to a goal. I want to say it was Stengel on the receiving end of that. But yeah, just too many turnovers, too many rude opportunities, and even though, despite all that, the Dogs were still pretty close at the end of the score. I think toward the end of the game to ice it, I think Tom Atkins in particular is one player that I noticed at the end of the game who really willed the Cats forward over the line and to be able to put the game out of reach for the Cats, not in the favor of the Dogs. So it was an entertaining game overall, man. I'm trying to think if it missed anything else. There wasn't as much fireworks I would have thought. You seen there was a little bit of rough housing, but not a big crazy brawl or scrum, or for a lack of a better term, with Bailey Smith in the middle of it. I didn't really see any of that too much. I thought him and Liver was like a highly anticipated matchup that I thought potentially could get a little rough, but didn't really end up that way. You can see that there was mutual respect by the way that Bailey Smith talked at the end of the game. Yeah, it was a battle of the midfields, and I think at the end of the day, the second quarter was really just what gave the Cats an advantage and a buffer enough to keep the Dogs away from winning the game, as well as answering whatever the Dogs had to say, whatever the Dogs were able to do as far as them scoring. So Dogs looked better in the second half of the game, but I think first half they just had, like I said, a little bit missed opportunities, man, and the Cats were just a more poised and composed side. So entertaining game overall. It'll be interesting to see if this ends up being another rematch in September, and I'll definitely be looking forward to it if that's the case. But also the Cats defense, bro. I meant to mention that too. Cats defense just looked much more composed with Tom Stewart coming back and Mitch Duncan back inside, and you have a handful of returns where the defense just seemed to be able to fall in place and look a lot more composed and being able to handle the pressure. So I think that was had a big effect on the Cats win as well. So, but other than that, man, look forward to the games. We got another game tonight, obviously, on Friday Night Footy. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube shit. Check out this review. Make sure you hear when we live for this next game and for the rest of the week, man. So, yes, Lord.